Trade has been out for quite a long time now, and it has changed a lot since it was first released. And it has come a long way, and it seems to be getting better and better as time goes on. Now we have like limited items and, cool killers and cabins and all that. And back in the old days, trade was completely different than how it is now. Back in the day, trade was more based on just rarity. And how would you be able to determine rarity? At least back then, it was most likely how old the knife was, how much it costed, like the coins or gems or whatever it was, and then if you saw it a lot. If you're in trade a lot in the trading cabin, and if you see a scythe, but you see it a lot, and it's not just one person that has 10 of them, but there's 10 people that have one scythe, then you could clearly see, okay, it's not really that rare. And if you server hop into a different trading server and you still see that a lot of people have scythe, then you can come to the conclusion that scythe is not as rare as something like galaxy. You could server hop all day and you might find maybe one galaxy. So that's kind of how rarity was. And a better example would be Wings of Cupid 2020 and Gilded Hearts 2020. They were both in the very first Survive the Killer event, and Gilded Hearts 20 didn't cost as much as Wings of Cupid 20. So knowing that both of them were in the first Roblox event, which was 2 years ago, and knowing that Wings of Cupid 2020 costed more coins than Gilded Hearts 2020, it just logically made sense that Wings of Cupid 2020 was way more rare than Gilded Hearts 2020. And in my time of trading, I have seen the progression of trade. I've created this list here. This list is trading generations. And how it works is when the month that you started trading is what generation you are. So, for example, I started trading in September of 2021. So that makes me a Generation 3 trader. Generation 1, 2, and 3 were all about rarity trading. That's all it was just rarity trading. Then Generation 4 and 5 was demand trading. It was all demand trading. It was a very interesting experience. Then Generation 6 is when Jesse, the community manager, and myself decided to make the value list. And the value list made Generation 6 and 7 value generations. But it seems that Generation 8, 9, and 10 are back to demand. And we don't really understand why, because demand is only benefiting the rich players. If you're poor, you're never going to win in the game of demand, because you don't have the high demanded items. You don't have Axe of the Reaper or Arachnophobia or the 600 Fae or anything like that. You're going to have, the either mid-tier items or the trash small items. And yet everyone seems to think that demand is the way to go, but the way that trading actually works is it's a combination of rarity and demand. That's what makes value. It's a combination of rarity and demand. Now, obviously, rarity is far more important than demand. What I mean by that is, if demand was more important, then I could just say, oh, even though Scythe has I don't know, 1 million copies, but it's very highly demanded. So that means that it is worth more than a Crimson. That just doesn't make sense, because a Crimson has around 300 copies, somewhere around there, when last, checked. So, obviously, since Crimson has lesser copies than Scythe, it is more rare than Scythe, and that is why it is worth more, because there's less of them. Another example would be, okay, well, everyone loves the test code knife, so let's just make that 1 million value. That just doesn't make sense. Like, it wasn't hard to get, it was a free item, and everybody has it. But just because it looks cool, that doesn't mean that it's going to be the new Galaxy. Like, it just doesn't really make sense. And that's why we created the value list and try to help people and give guidance, because all of the new players that join the game, they obviously don't know what stuff is worth. And they try to, understand what things are worth and how trade works so that they don't get sharked. But if you're going to trade your 300k offer for a Scythe, only for Scythe to raise like 50k the next day, then you're obviously going to either be a massive win or a massive L. But the biggest problem nowadays is, like, there's no reason why things are raising or dropping. So the way that I think that demand should work is the holiday items specifically. Obviously, it could be other items, but more the Halloween items. The Halloween update is coming up, so it makes sense that all of the Halloween items would raise during the month of October, because that's the month of Halloween. So, like, Deadly Dark Reaper would go up in value due to demand. Scythe would. All of the Halloween Immortals, Vampire Vanquisher, Hollow's End, and Fang of the Black Widow, those would all go up because it's a Halloween item in October, and October is a Halloween month. That's how I think demand should work. And then obviously when it's November, then those Halloween items will start to go down again. It's like inflation and deflation. And then once December comes around, then the Christmas stuff will start to get hype and raise, like Permafrost, Special Snowflake, Frostbite, Corrupt Santa, Franz, and all of those items. And that's kind of how things worked. And I noticed nowadays all of the limited items are, like, dying. Like, the Green Fae is worth nowhere near what it's supposed to be worth. Blood Ruby gets treated like trash. Cold Wings of Cupid gets treated like trash. Corruptor gets treated like trash. Corrupt Clucky gets treated like trash. The only two limited items that don't get treated like trash is Galaxy and the 600 Fae. And this is even after all of that duping happened. And those two limiteds are the only ones that do not get treated like trash. It just doesn't really make sense. But the point of this video was to shine some light on, like, the origins of STK trading and how much it changed over the time period of 2 years that it's been out. And it will continue to change. Now, obviously, the trading generation list, I can extend it longer, but it's basically each generation is like 2 months long. Like, that's kind of how it works. Because I've sat there and I've, over the, year that I've been here in trading, I've noticed that, like, a lot of people, especially nowadays, they don't stay forever. Usually, by every 2 months or a new trading generation, it's almost like a whole new trading community with different players. And you'll sit there and see all these new players, especially on the Discord, and watch, and then you'll see, like 2 months from now, they're gone. Like, they don't play anymore. So that's why I designed it to be around 2 months long, because I try to keep up with how long people stay. Now, obviously, our value list, we use value requests, and we try to be more strict on value requests, and we obviously see what's happening in the Discord, and we see what happens on Facebook and what happens inside the actual trading servers and all that kind of stuff. And then we made sure our list was community based so that there's literally no way for there to be market manipulation. And if there is, that's in the community. That's not from us, because we base everything off of what happens in the community. We don't sit there and decide, oh, we're going to make this. Like, we also include proofs in our value updates, and we try to keep everything updated frequently as much as possible. The only time that it's a actual guess is the brand new update items. And those aren't really a guess. I mean, it kind of is, but we use logical reasoning. A good example would be permafrost. When permafrost came out, we obviously had to sit there and try to decide what it was going to be worth. And the best way that we can explain it is, let's pretend there could only be 100 spectrums from a crate. In Halloween, there was 2 spectrums in the crate. There was Arachnophobia and Axe of the Reaper. If there can only be 100, then there will only be either 50 Arachnophobia and 50 Axe of the Reaper, or 40 Axe of the Reaper and 60 Arachnophobia, because there's 2 of them. But every other item in a holiday crate, like Permafrost, Axe of the Fairy, and all those other items, there was only 1. So no matter what, there will always be 100 Permafrost, there will always be 100 Axe of the Fairy. Now, if you compare Permafrost from Christmas time to Axe of the Fairy now, obviously there's not going to be as many Permafrost as there of Axe of the Fairy, because people will quit the game, or they'll get banned, or whatever else will happen. So over time, items are going to lose copies, and that's kind of what makes them more and more rare. And that's how trading works. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I just wanted to make this quick video to kind of, once again, shed some light on the origins of trade in STK and how much it's changed from then and now, and it'll continue to change as stated previously.